Welcome everyone to Temple Solel's Friday night service. I'm Rabbi Efrat Zarin Zohar, and with me this evening are Cantor, Israel Rosen, Robin Rosen, and Matthew Littman on technology. And so we want to begin, as we often do, with a nigun, but I believe that the Cantor has something to tell us all before he begins to sing. So Cantor, what is the message this evening?
Okay, the message tonight, our Shabbat service will have a musical theme from the Bima to Broadway with our two guest singers, Esther Bruda and Lisa Kennedy. The melody for every prayer except the Misheberach and Kiddush will be from Broadway musical, except one which is a very famous song. I hope you will recognize the melodies and enjoy the service. And I will open with the nigun, and I am sure that you will recognize the melody, the first one. Na 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 nay nay 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 na na nay nay na 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 nay nay na 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 nay nay na na nay nay na na nay nay na na nay nay ya na 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 nay ya na nay nay ya na nay nay ya na nay nay ya na 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 nay na na nay nay ya na 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 nay nay na 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 nay nay na 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 nay nay da da day day da 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 day day ya da 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 day day day.
Oh, how lovely. Already, my brain is fired up for what's to come. And now we have Robin Rosen, who will kindle the lights of Shabbat for us this evening.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen. And we continue with Lecha Dodi, beloved, come to meet the bride. And we want everyone to listen and join in at home.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בא אורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Now here we see the Cantor's range. So let's see what's coming for Shalom Aleichem.
שלום עליכם מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. לה 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 לה. צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And so now we have come to the Shema. And the Shema is that moment to turn inwards, to close our eyes, to deepen our breath, to become aware of our nishima, our breathing, so that we can connect better to our nishama, our souls. Because this prayer, of all the prayers, teaches us to begin to not only see ourselves as part of this oneness, but to see everything in the world as part of the oneness that we call God.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We're close to Pesach, and we need to internalize these words standing on the parted shores of history. We will still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Mount Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, a place that's narrow and constricted, because that's the name of it in Hebrew, but there is a better place, a land that is promised to each one of us, and that the winding way to that promise is going to have to pass through the wilderness. That is the paradigm. And there's no way to get from here to there, from Mitzrayim, Egypt, to the promised land, except by joining hands and marching together as a community.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות וספל. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע הים לפני משה, זה לי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות וספל. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד, חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות וספל.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch, blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. And now I believe we have Lisa Kennedy singing Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת, ויהי נפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisa. And now we take a moment to find a space for ourselves for private prayer and personal reflection.
And now Esther Bruda, she's gonna sing Shalom Rav.
Shalom
seems we've lost Esther for a moment. Jonathan, is there anything we can do to get her back?
Okay, honey, go. You're going to have to do it.
Okay.
Oh, well, it sounded good at the beginning.
Can you do what she was doing?
No. Sing. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם תשים לעולם תשים לעולם
So I hope I can still get points for realizing what the song was that Esther was singing earlier. And she did it so beautifully for those first few bars. In any case, we have come right now to this part of our service where we're praying for a refuah shlema, a complete and speedy healing for so many in our own congregational community, in our lives, and around the world who need the Misha Berach prayer. So tonight, Robin, who are we especially thinking of?
Ann Becker, Richard Blanky, Joe Bulick, Tracy Fiokowski, Jane Gambardella, Seth Gelwasser, Dr. Robert Greenstein, Don Harvey, Larry Jurist, Ida Kacherka, Hannah Cates, Sandy Connie, Phyllis Lewis, Elwood Powers, Sid Rabin, Michelle Robinson, Gabriella Rosenthal, Randy Shattenkirk, Michael Slotnick, Ray Strauss, Charlie Wolf, Martin Zafman.
And now I'll ask those who are on Zoom with us from our congregation to unmute yourself and to also offer names that you would like to include.
Will Holtz,
Malka Siffer, Bat Chana Razel, Verbrini, Bat Devora.
Sophia Bohal Presti Giacomo.
John Pasalacqua.
Yaakov Shlomo ben Shalom ben Liam.
And also Rachel bat Fruma, Silka Frida bat Leah, Tova bat Esther, Mea ben Devora, Chana bat Devora, Ari ben Miriam, Mordechai Avram ben Esther, Chaya Sarah bat Bashya, and Mark Phillips. We take them all into our hearts as the Cantor sings for us this beautiful, beautiful prayer.
מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב שרה רבקה רחל ולאה הוא יברך וירפא את החולים מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. אלנה רפנה לה, אלנה רפנה לה, אלנה רפנה לה, אלנה רפנה לה. מי שברב אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים.
So this week's Devar Torah on Parashat Vayakel Pikudei was inspired by my colleague Rabbi Bradley Shavit Artson, who's the dean of the Ziegler School of Rabbinical Studies in Los Angeles. We live in an age of great material abundance. It isn't unusual for families to own several automobiles, multiple refrigerators and freezers, and of course, lavish amounts of clothing. In fact, one of the most interesting outcomes of this pandemic is that all of us have come to realize how many more clothes and shoes we have than we truly, really need. So I remember, and perhaps I've told this before, that when we bought our present home and we looked into the tiny master bedroom closet that was for both husband and wife, I turned wide-eyed to my husband and asked him incredulously, how is it possible that both of them kept all their clothes in here? And he gently and lovingly replied, in those days, people didn't accumulate things unnecessarily. If they needed it, they wore it until it wore out. And if they didn't need it, they wouldn't buy it, or they couldn't buy it. And at that time, I thought to myself, oh, how quaint. And now I think of it and I truly wince. Honestly, how many pairs of pants and dresses and shoes do I need? And how many do I really wear? As the great Rabbi of essentialism, Marie Kondo, has said, if it doesn't bring you joy, then pass it on to someone for whom it will bring joy. And notice that with all the luxuries that Americans enjoy, it is sadly ironic that so many of us feel so bored and lonely. You would think that all our possessions and our distractions would keep us buzzing contentedly from one diversion to the next, always fascinated by what we are doing, always anticipating our next bauble with joy. Yet that isn't the case. The testimony that we offer to our pollsters and our social scientists is that we Americans are a nation awash in fun things, but we lack a sense of overriding purpose in our lives as a whole. We are bored or addicted to booze and drugs, not because there is nothing to do, but because there's too much to do and most of it has so very little significance. We're not the first generation to face that issue. Wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, the Israelites also grumbled and complained because they too had nothing to keep themselves busy, nothing that would fill their time with purpose and direct their energy towards attaining a worthy goal. After all, God provided them with everything. Their food literally fell from the heavens. Their clothes never wore out. Their shoes, says the Torah, never needed mending. Their leadership resolved all their disputes and their contentions. So there was absolutely nothing that needed their own uniquely personal skills or abilities. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wisely noted that a fundamental definition of human happiness is to be needed. I'll repeat that because it's so powerful and very much worth mulling over. A fundamental definition of human happiness is to be needed. Now think of that in the context of our own lives. Think of that in the context of your loved ones, particularly minor children. And now think of that in the context of someone you know who might be unemployed, or someone who's retired but is not in some way of service to others. Our ancestors in the wilderness weren't needed to do anything. And you know what? That made them incredibly miserable. In fact, we know from parenting and from education that if we do too much for our children or for our students, what we essentially teach them is learned helplessness, meaning they literally learn from us how to be helpless in this world because we, the teacher or the parent, have done everything for them and they never need to figure anything out on their own. The millennial generation that I work with, those are the ones born from 1981 to 1997, making them basically 24 to 40-year-olds today. That millennial generation complains about their Gen Z younger colleagues that they are so very fragile. Their egos, their feelings, their needs. They can't handle criticism without crying. They can't figure out how to overcome obstacles without help. They're so easily hurt and need coddling. That's what the millennials are saying about the Gen Zs. And I find it actually amusing that a 35-year-old is complaining to me about a 22-year-old because it doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but I can still see why, because that's how so many of these Gen Zers were parented. And it's even worse than whatever the millennials got. And the millennials got was even worse than what the baby boomers got or the Gen Xers got, and so on all the way back, right? This is how the generations work. And we have to think to ourselves on this 1-year anniversary Shabbat of the pandemic, how did this pandemic, this lockdown, this time of kind of boiling things down to their essence, how did it point out to us our own learned helplessnesses? The things we ourselves didn't realize made us in need of so much coddling. In fact, the Midrashic work, Pasik de Rabati, notes that Israel, the people, always used to grumble, as it is written, and the people murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And so too, again, the whole congregation of Israel murmured because their complaints were nonstop and because God noticed that meeting all their material and security needs left them with no significant way to use their time. So finally, after the golden calf in particular, God devised an activity for the Israelites that would fill their lives with purpose and meaning. God instructed them to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle. As the Midrash observes, it was because of their murmuring that the Holy Blessed One asked them to put their hand to the making of this tabernacle. In fact, the last several chapters of the book of Exodus, Shemot, deal with the instructions and implementation of building the Mishkan, this dwelling place for the Holy One. And not coincidentally, there are no complaints, no rebellions, no strife recorded during any one of those chapters of the Torah. As the Midrash points out, you find that the whole time they were occupied with the work of the Mishkan, they did not grumble. What a momentous observation. Once the Israelites were needed, once their lives were made significant by a consequential project, their fetching and complaining evaporated. The Israelites had complained in reality because they felt superfluous and insignificant. It appeared as though God and Moses didn't even need them, as if they were extraneous spectators to someone else's private affair. By contrast, work on the Mishkan gave them a way of meeting a divine need, of serving their God and their community at the same time. We all face the same challenge that our ancestors confronted: how to lend significance to our time here on earth, how to make a positive difference for our loved ones, our community, our heritage, and indeed all humanity. God saw that human beings needed to be needed, that we rise to the expectations others place on us, and that we grow into the image that others hold out for us as ideal. The task of resting meaning out of existence, of fashioning purpose out of mere being, is the great challenge of being human and the great gift of Judaism. By holding out to us the opportunity to perform mitzvot, deeds that are consequential at every turn, upon waking, at every meal, and every encounter with another human being, in repeated moments of prayer and contemplation, we erect a mishkan of deeds, a structure of purpose and holiness that can launch our souls into a flight of discovery and of fulfillment. Each time that we do a mitzvah, a deed helps to refashion us just a little better. That mitzvah makes us a little more complete than we were before. Every time we stand before God in prayer, every time we visit the sick, even via Zoom, or refrain from wasting things, or eat a meal at which we've thanked not only the Holy One, but also the farmers and the laborers, the truck drivers, the supermarket workers who bring our food to us, or do any number of mitzvot that Judaism summons us to observe, we are thereby contributing to a structure that has infused countless lives with direction, belonging, and transcendence through the ages. The material riches around us may occasionally blind us to our true wealth, but by living lives rich in mitzvot, abounding in holiness, we can escape the urge to complain that simply masks the loneliness of being unnecessary. The task is great, and the Holy One is waiting. Every one of us is needed in this world, yet it is up to us to identify our own particular purpose and ability to be of service. And thankfully, Judaism has given us a great deal of wisdom and advice on this topic. We just need to work at applying it. So on that 1-year anniversary Shabbat of our lockdown, I wish you all a contemplative Shabbat where we each can renew and re-examine our own unique purpose for living. Shabbat Shalom.
And again, I like to introduce Esther Bruda to play the introduction of Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמרו אמן. במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמרו אמן. במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמרו אמן. במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו
And now we turn our hearts and our thoughts to those who we have loved and lost, those in our congregational family for whom we are observing a yahrzeit this Shabbat. Laura Altschuler, Morris Altschuler, Lawrence Burson and Blumenthal, Robert Bramlett, Molly Chibnick, Faye Cohen, Lillian Cohen, Sadie Eisenstadt, Peter Feinberg, Donald Feinberg, Louis Fireberg, Estelle Fishman, Doris Fox, Shirley Franklin, Benjamin Friesner, Belle Garfinkel, Samuel Garmizo, William Ginsberg, Judith Glasser, Norman Gold, Irving Golden, Carol Goldsmith, Francis Gordon, Howard Gordon, Darren Greck, Faye Henkin, Wynne Hassan, Dr. William Horowitz, Francis Horowitz, Gussie Kaufman, Cyrus Connie, Claire Corda, Amelia Levine, Bessie Lipman, Alan Lynn, Arthur Marcus, Michael Margulis, Lillian Marks, Michael Maurer, Martin Messenger, Alyssa Morris, Samuel Nadler, Meyer Nelson, Sarah Newman, Edward Nego, Myron Reinhardt, Lori Roberts, Sarah Rose, Ruth Rosenberg, Samuel Rosenzweig, Wilfred Rovan, Gertrude Rubert, Gail Selinsky, Oscar Sandler, Louis Sands, Siegfried Schaefer, Ann Schechter, Daniel Sepler, Meyer Simon, Norman Slavin, Gustav Springer, Jeffrey Stievler, Morris Strauss, Jack Stromfeld, Sadie Tartar, Miriam Treelin, Dorothy Udell, Gertrude Vendeland, Ann Wolfsey, Harold Wolf, Betty Young, and Jack Zegelbone. In reciting the Kaddish, we affirm our awareness of holiness in our world. Much of our experience of divine goodness, grace, and love has come to us through those whose lives have touched our own. And so we invoke the transcendent power of love and caring as together we sanctify God's name. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudasha berichu le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'olma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. May the one who makes peace in the heavens bring that shalom, that equanimity and wholeness and sense of completeness to us, each individual, to us as communities here on earth, as together we say, Amen. And now I'd like to call upon Matthew Lippman to deliver our announcements.
Well, thank you kindly. And one thing I've learned this evening is two things: technology is real, and I am human. So let's move on beyond that one. So first off, as I always do, I want to thank our 23 of our family members of Solel that have joined us on Zoom this evening. It's always a very special evening to be with all of you, to share this wonderful Shabbat service with you. It means the world to all of us, and it feels great to be together with everybody, along with our virtual audience that joins us every evening from around the globe. So good evening on this 28th day of Adar. On behalf of the Temple Board of Directors, I'd like to thank our Solel family and friends, as well as our global audience, for connecting with us virtually and spiritually on this Shabbat evening. We are focused on supporting and connecting together as a community while taking precautions to keep everyone safe. Please join us online for virtual Shabbat services and all other events and gatherings until this unprecedented time of COVID-19 has passed. Please know that we are always here for you, virtually and spiritually. Please reach us via email or phone for all of your needs. Gifts and contributions make it possible to continue and expand synagogue activities, repairing the world, teaching our children, comforting those in need. Your support helps sustain our sacred community and helps you fulfill the mitzvah of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. Whether you're a part of the Temple Solel family or would like to support our mission, donating is simple. There are a few different ways that we can suggest of being generous to Temple Solel. You may go to our website at templesolel.com/donate. And a new way I'd like to introduce, which actually most of us already know, but we have put instructions in our e-blast and we'll put online. Those of you that are ordering from Amazon, and I think everybody does, I encourage everybody to sign up for Amazon Smile. And what Amazon Smile will do is, if you follow the instructions in e-blast or go online, you can simply go ahead and select Temple Solel Inc. as a charity, a donation, and then what happens is that Amazon every few months will take a percentage of your purchases and donate it to the charity of your choice. So I want to thank Walter Hollander for reminding all of us how easy it is, and we encourage all of you to follow the instructions online or in the e-blast and make templesolel.com your charity of choice for Amazon. So our Tikkun Olam committee has an exciting event coming up. On Sunday, March 21st at 3 o'clock p.m. is an international vegan Zoom cooking series with Chef Jamie E. from Izgara Middle Eastern Cuisine. And we're going to be focusing on Israeli vegan dishes, which is perfect timing because they could be shared at your Passover Seder. So go to the e-blast or call the temple office. There's a special registration link that you'll find that you click on. It's free to everybody, and we look forward to seeing everybody on Sunday, March 21st at 3 o'clock p.m. for our Zoom cooking series. And we do want to thank our very own Ethan Bober, who has spent tirelessly and many hours in raising money and awareness to support the Dorit and Bain J. Jeanette Cupboard Kosher for Passover Food Drive. He has put together a wonderful flyer in our e-blast and has done incredible things to raise money for them. So please help the cupboard and provide food for over 700 families, including 160 Holocaust survivors. Students can actually earn 5 service hours by filling a bag or box with at least 5 of the following items that are listed on our website and drop them off at the cover. So perfect time of year. Thank you so much, Ethan, for doing such a great job. So for all our virtual live events, you can always join us in one of two ways. You can join us on the Temple's Facebook live stream, or you can actually navigate to our website and go to templesolel.com/live-feed. We have some exciting events coming up. Tomorrow we do have our Torah study. We're over at Efrat. It seems like every week it gets more and more interesting and challenging, so I encourage everybody to show up at 9:30 a.m. for a Torah study over Zoom. Then our religious school does come back on Sunday, the 14th at 10 o'clock a.m. over Zoom. On Tuesday, March 16th, we have our confirmation class with Rabbi Rosen, and we also have our second installment of the virtual lecture series for the NSU Lifelong Learning Institute. And Sylvia Gorinsky will be speaking on the topic of the history of the Jewish community in South Florida. It is free for all Temple members. The Zoom link you'll find in the e-blast, or you call the Temple office. We can give you the credentials to sign in to this Zoom. It's a different Zoom other than the Temple Zoom, so please make sure you make note of that and join us on Tuesday night at 7:30 for the wonderful lecture series. On Wednesday, our very own Cantor Rosen is back for at 6 o'clock p.m. for our music time with Cantor Rosen. The theme is Passover, and we have an incredible special guest, and I bet you know who it is. We've all heard of him for many years. It's our very own Rabbi Rosen. So he's going to be joining us and teaching us all about Passover. So I encourage everybody to join for that. We're back here again on the 19th for Shabbat Services. And the last event I want to put in everybody's mind. I know that Passover is a time we spend time with our family, but I do want to encourage everybody to join our second annual virtual Passover Seder. We're doing on the first night of Passover. It's over Zoom. And we have a link in our e-blast. You're actually going to get an invite to sign up to attend. It'll be 6 o'clock p.m. on Saturday, March 27th. We want to shut the Zoom server down. We want to have hundreds of people. We look forward to spending some time with our Solel family and friends. Cantor Rosen, Robin Rosen, and Rabbi Rosen have an incredible night planned for us, and we cannot wait to spend some time with everybody on the first night of Passover. So a couple quotes to leave you with as we think about through these tough times. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. And love makes our friends a little dearer. Joy makes our hearts a little lighter. Faith makes our paths a little clearer. Hope make our life a little brighter. And peace brings us all a little nearer. So with that, we all ask that all of you stay safe and everyone stays in good health. And Shabbat Shalom. And back to you, Cantor, Robin, and Rabbi.
Thank you so much, Matthew. And I want to give a special shout out again to Lisa Kennedy and Esther Bruda for their wonderful participation in our service this evening. And Cantor, I believe we have a final song that might just have a different tune than we're used to. Is that true?
אדון אדון עולם אשר אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי כי יכלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון אדון עולם אשר אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ונשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא בידו אף כדרו כי בעת אישן ואהירה ואם רוחי גווייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא אדון אדון עולם אשר אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא את עשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך אדון עולם.
We should all know that one. It's a great prelude for Kiddush, actually. So Cantor, take us away.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. And now we have the Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.